Hi, thanks for tuning in to my official YouTube channel. I'm Reverend MeeLing. I've also been known as Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle, quite a few names. So, funny about signs, right? So there was this guy I met, and I don't remember how I met him. Probably has to do with that head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. Issue with the subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain, damaging it during the coma, with the headaches and migraines, the having the memory deficits and cognitive disorders, as well as going from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math. So there was this guy I met, and his name being Egan. And I think it was at 9 Lives bookstore that I met the guy. And he was a part of the San Antonio pagan community and that sort of stuff. And we discussed certain things, and at one point in time, he wound up being at a fair somewhere, and he had wound up going and meeting him there and that sort of stuff. Anyway, if I'm not mistaken, he knew John Vidiel, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, so went to a fair, and he was doing these readings, and he had to actually use a card that he had printed out, like the description of all of the different meanings of the symbols. He actually needed to use a laminated card. And I didn't understand that, because I kind of figured if you're going to do readings, you actually know what you're doing. Similarly to the way, Lisa Williams didn't like animals at the cat sanctuary for 9 Lives books. Being an animal whisperer, it just didn't make sense why somebody who did animal whisperer stuff would have issues with cats. Just didn't make sense. So at that particular fair, he had, done a couple of readings. Can't remember where it was. I know it was in the state of Texas. He had said he had lived in Roswell, I think, or something like that at some point in time. Anyway, he had tried to he had tried to do a couple of readings for different people that were there at the fair, and one female came up to me and she goes, "You do limpias?" I go, "Yeah, I know limpias." And she goes, "My great-grandmother did limpias. How do you know limpias? You're not, like, Mexican." I said, "Yeah, I know. I have Spaniard in me, but yes, I know I'm not Mexican." She goes, "You can do limpias?" I said, "Well, there's different ways to do limpias." I said, there's the egg or the huevo way. And she just looked at me, she's like, "Oh, you do know." And I was like, "Yes, I know a few different aspects." And she was like, "Could you limpias?" I said, "If you want me to, I can." So I also already was a Reiki master teacher, level 3 sort of stuff. And so did the whole thing, and she was excited. She could feel the difference and stuff like that. And she said, she was surprised because I had spent a little bit more time on her shoulder. And she had told me afterwards, she goes, "How did you know to focus there?" I said, "Well, part of limpias is certain aspects, and you know that." And she said, "Yeah, just, I didn't tell you I had shoulder pain." And I said, "Well, I do as I do, and it is what it is." We talked for a while. She gave me a hug and stuff like that. And she goes, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "Well, I'm glad it helped." And she's like, "Yeah, I can actually move my arm." And I was like, "Oh." And she was like, yeah, I haven't been able to move it like this in a while. How'd you get that to do that? And I was like, well, it's part of Limpios and healing and stuff like that. So we talked for a little bit, and then, you know, she went on and discussed different things with other people. And Egan had looked at me and he goes, I'm really jealous of you. And I looked at him, I'm like, why are you jealous of me? And he said, well, because, you know, you can actually do that. And I looked at him, I go, well, yeah. I mean, why would you be doing what you're doing if you don't know how to do it, right? And he looked at me, he goes, and he showed me the laminate card again. He goes, I have to read off of this to be able to do readings. And I looked at him, I'm like, well, that's not really doing readings now, is it? He got offended by me saying that. He was extremely offended by that. It was one of those, well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you're upset at the fact that I just pointed out the truth. And he said, no, you know, you're just whatever. So he wound up having another guy who showed up to get a reading. And the guy got mad. The guy got really, really mad because of Egan using the card to do the reading. And the guy looked at me and he goes, why is he using a card? And I said, that's how he said he needs to do it for the readings and stuff like that. And the guy goes, I could have done that to myself, just gotten a tarot deck, laid out the cards and looked at the meaning myself and done the interpretation myself instead of, you know, going through this guy. I looked at the guy and I said, well, you know, if he gives you insight, then, you know, technically, isn't that what you're looking for? And the guy said, yeah. And so Egan, you know, continued doing the reading, but he literally read verbatim what was on the card. And I just kind of shook my head. I was like, well, I guess never mind on that. And at the end of it, you know, the guy got up and left and he was pissed. And he goes, he pointed at Egan and he goes, you are a liar. You don't know how to do this. And Egan goes, no, I can't. And he looked at me and he goes, Susan, defend me. And I was like, I can't defend you. I gave you a minimal defense and then you had to prove yourself. And because you couldn't prove yourself, that's not my fault. That's on you for, you know, technically you should give that guy the money back. And Egan got mad at me. And he was just like, I don't ever want to see you again, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. If you're that offended at the fact that I told the truth, that's your choice. And at the end of, you know, the thing, he was like, well, I take that back. I was just really upset. And I look at him and I'm like, I get that you were upset. However, you can't blame me for you not being able to do a reading. If you are going to say you can do a reading, you should be able to do a reading. You shouldn't be, you know, falsely advertising to people saying that you can do stuff that you can't do. And he got offended again. And he was like, if you only knew blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him, I said, but you have no power. You don't have the capability of doing readings. You have the ability to do essentially reading from a sign, but the interpretations are lost on you. You have no capability. He got angry. And I looked at Egan and I was like, that's not my fault. That's your fault for not allowing yourself to actually learn stuff. And he said that he was only doing it to make money. And I looked at him, I said, you're a charlatan then. You're not genuinely trying to help people. There is a difference between people who have the ability in whichever capacity that can genuinely do stuff and you. And people like you. And similar to you. And he got even more upset. And I looked at him, I said, you have the choice of, at this point in time, knowing this, you have the choice of whether you actually allow yourself to open up and genuinely have, the ability to do the spiritual stuff that you say you want to do and can do, or you have the choice to continue on the same path that you are. And I'm gonna give you a warning that if you stay on the same path that you are, you're not gonna get very far. You're not gonna get the success that you are looking for. You're going to see a whole bunch of people come out who have the abilities that you wish you could have, but you don't, because they choose to open themselves to be able to do stuff that you could open yourself to do, you just refuse to. And so I hope the best, but yeah, you have to make that decision on your own. Well, Egan got mad, and it was one of those, that is not my fault. That is your fault for not being truthful. That's really what that boils down to. And he got upset, and it was just one of those, well, that's a you problem and not a me problem. So I left it at that. So kind of figured I'd go into that regard and just discuss that. That was the other thing. He had said he had seen me do readings and he didn't understand how I could do readings. And I was like, okay, well, how do you not understand that I can do readings, but you're offering readings and you can't do readings? Just saying. It's a big deal. Just saying. People are going to ask questions because they're looking for genuine insight, and you choosing not to give yourself the ability to. And he was like, I'm not choosing the blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him and said, yes, you are, because you're only looking at it as a financial aspect. You are not looking at it as far as actually being able to help people. And if you actually looked at it as being able to help people genuinely, in truth, then you would have a different outcome. So it's up to you whether you choose to have that different outcome or to continue on the same path that you're on. It's not up to me. It's up to you. And he got upset. It was just one of those, well, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. And, either you choose to do and be better, or you continue on the same path, and you're going to wind up coming across an individual who has a far worse temper than that guy did, and you're not going to like the outcome. Promise you that. So heed my warning. Otherwise, don't find out the consequences. Giving you a warning, though. It's your choice. So that being said, I'm going to end this particular official YouTube broadcast of mine. Comment and like and share and subscribe to my official YouTube channel, Reverend MeeLing. And you guys have a good one. Bye.